And I'll get into more of that later. So I would like to present some fresh terminology for our discussion that I hope will give you another way to present your ministry as leaders in the church and consultants to help churches turn around, revitalize, come back, raise from the dead, whatever picture you want to use. So what would an upcycling process look like for a declining church, and what could consultants suggest and leaders of denomination and churches do to reintroduce revitalization into dying churches? I want to propose 5 key strategies for this process that are taken from the letter of Christ to the church at Sardis, found in Revelation chapter 3, verses 1 through 6. These are also strategies that I have taught around the world and have also used as the pastor of a revitalizing church. I hope these will be helpful to you. There will be some overlap of what Dr. McIntosh has shared, and that probably makes me feel better than him. First of all, to face and embrace the crisis. Imagine how this letter was read to the church of Sardis. Perhaps the head deacon got up and said, "Ladies and gentlemen, I have some good news and I have some bad news. The good news, we have a great reputation. We have a great name. In fact, you'll remember just last month in our congregational meeting, we voted to change the name of our church to New Hope Chapel, to Abundant Life Fellowship, or to New Beginnings." They're probably smiling at that point and then waiting for the other shoe to drop. Okay, what is the bad news? The bad news is Jesus says we're dead. How do you think they responded to that assessment that the head of the church gave to the church? Would you agree with me that an accurate assessment is better than a nice one? Would you agree with me that truth gives leadership something to work with? It's not always nice to hear. It reminds me of the older lady standing in front of a full-length mirror taking a hard look at herself. She says to her husband, "You know, dear, I look in the mirror and I see an old woman. My face is wrinkled. Everything else is either sagging or bloated. I've got fat legs and my arms are all flabby. Tell me something positive to make me feel better about myself." So the husband looks up and he looks at her for a while and he finally says, "Well, dear, there's nothing wrong with your eyesight." Church leaders may not like what they see. They may not like what you and I tell them as consultants and outside leaders, but the truth will give them something to work with. As Dr. McIntosh has said, defining reality. There must be the recognition that the church has reached or will eventually reach a crisis point that prompts change and produces urgency. We all remember the old joke about how many psychiatrists does it take to change a light bulb? And the answer is 1, but the light bulb has to want to change. Applying that to church revitalization, how many church revitalizers and pastors and denominational leaders does it take to revitalize the church? We don't know how many because the numbers really don't matter if the church doesn't want to change. People and churches change when they hurt enough that they have to change, when they hope enough that they want to change, and when they learn enough that they're able to change. And I think all 3 of these work together in conjunction with one another. I asked a couple of our elders who experienced and helped in the revitalization of our church, to what did they attribute the turnaround of our church? I was actually hoping they would make some sort of reference to my superior leadership. They didn't. In virtual unison, they said we were ready for a change. They had hoped, hurt, and learned enough that they were ready to make the necessary transformation. In my experience and my research, most churches wait too long to begin the revitalization process. In my research, most churches surveyed had been in moderate to severe crisis for over 3 years. And I've heard this from many people in conversations I've had thus far, that many of the churches have not grasped this sense of where they actually are or where they are heading.